History of the theater was it used to be downstairs in the basement of Borough, and that's where Ray Hill directed a lot of his plays. Ray Hill, who really is responsible for getting a theater program on this campus to begin with, was one of the first people in the city of Memphis to do a Beckett piece. I think our history for doing things that are not the normal thing for people to do started there. And I think we're just simply honoring that and carrying it on.
It wasn't Rhodes when I was a student here, and there was no Department of Theater. It was Communications and Media Arts.
And then it changed to Theater and Media Arts. Earlier it was just straight Communication Arts, and then it was Theater and Media Arts. The focus then started on a performance aspect.
Where we had classes, we were in the basement of Palmer. There was a tiny little proscenium stage set up there that was probably 16, the room was 16 to 20 feet wide, really small. And then we had classes, movement classes was in the gymnasium in the basement. There was a theme there.
I participated in a couple of productions here in the basement of Palmer in Theater 6. In other words, 6 fathoms deep kind of thing. Talk about a dungeon.
And if you ever go down there, it is a dungeon. It is a true dungeon. You feel like there are bodies hidden down there. And that's where the theater was for a long time.
When I was a student here, they still had the Renaissance Fest. We found spaces on this collegiate Gothic campus that would, suit whatever was being done.
We staged 2 plays from the Norman Conquest, Round and Round the Garden and Living Together. And the first one, Round and Round the Garden, was done on the back porch of the A.O. Pie House.
One of my first productions in college here on campus was in Taming of the Shrew on the steps of Borough. So that was our stage. Also used the west side entrance to Clough Hall with the stair steps as a stage for scenes from a Shakespeare play. The amphitheater was used. We used Fisher Garden.
And then we found ourselves over here at the Zeta House, and that's where we started working.
Pre the building, we had classes in the lobby. I remember Betty Ruffin was my instructor there. When I got to we still, even when McCoy was built, we did projects around campus. I think I did my senior project in Clough in one of the art gallery rooms. So that's kind of the lay of the land when this wasn't into a theater.
From the Zeta House, a young man named Kevin Jago, who was a student, heard that the Zeta House they were looking at it turning into a special dorm. He had been very involved in the theater, so he got everybody to sign petitions and got everything stopped so that the Zeta House then actually became the McCoy.
What I recall is that it all came about because of the McCoy Foundation being presented to the college, the money that came that way. And before then, there might have been dreams for a theater and a lot of wonderful ideas that we need a real theater, but that's what really caused it to happen.
Kevin Jago, if he had not found out what was planned, we would probably still be in a basement somewhere, because he's the one who really pushed for this to become a theater. And all the students involved at that time were very active in seeing that happen.
Part of me doesn't hardly remember the building process, because I think I was doing theater. I think I was so engaged in wherever I was doing theater that I didn't see it come about.
When it was built, the architectural firm actually won an award because it was considered the best conversion of a pre-existing building into another kind of a building. One of the stories that I love about the building of the theater, Tony was here all the time. It was such an exciting time. None of us really quite knew what to expect, what it was going to look like, even though you see the drawings and everything. And just as in all of the other buildings here at Rhodes, when they started laying the stones, they had to bring these brick masons, I guess that's what they call them, stone masons, from someplace else who knew how to do it to make it look like the rest of the campus. And they told him they needed him to make a decision. It was in the summer, I think. And he had to go back to the back of the theater where they had laid 3 different patterns of the stones and said, which one do you like the best? And it was a great thing to be able to say, oh, I don't know, which one do you like the best? And to be able to pick that out.
I really remember seeing the beams that form the triangle out front when I was realizing the size of that structure, what it was going to be like. And I don't actually know if I realized that what a black box was and what the versatility of a black box was.
It was really rather disconcerting to graduate in 19 and to have a McCoy Theatre open just a couple of years after I graduated, which changed the whole scope of what was possible to be done production-wise on campus.
There was a real sense of ownership, a real sense of, with all that that implies, by having a structure and a form, the programming, the depth of study, the joy, just the sheer joy and privilege. It's like moving into a new house. To the extent that we were making it ours, it was the difference. It was the difference.
I don't think that the lack of space or large space has ever allowed us to not do things of grand scope. I think that we've always tried not to limit ourselves in that respect and find creative ways to address issues of grand scope. And I think that's one of the challenges and one of the rewards of working in a variety of spaces around campus, but also even today in the McCoy itself, which is still not a place of grand scope, but we can tell human stories of grand scope.
It's kind of this fun journey from basement to dungeon to a sorority house, to a theater, back to a basement, back to a swimming pool, one might say, then back over here. So there we are.